Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of All Trades and welcome to another video. So first off, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope you're enjoying this time with friends and family. And just a quick thank you to everybody who watches this channel and follows my channel because I really do appreciate it. So happy holidays to everybody. So what we're going to talk about today is we are going to talk about the Pittsburg Tools, or the Harbor Freight as it's often referred to, pound and a quarter hickory handled hatchet. So let's get right into today's discussion. And welcome back. So yes, today we're going to talk about the Harbor Freight pound and a quarter hickory handled hatchet. They call it an axe on the website, but it is truly just a hatchet. But before we do, as per the usual, I got to ask you to go down and hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you ring that notification bell so you get notified of upcoming videos. And if you're liking what you see on this channel, you like this kind of content, please let me know in those comments and I will do more of it. Or if there's something else that you want to see me do, let me know. For instance, if you want to see me turn this hatchet into that tomahawk, let me know in the comments. I will do a video specifically on how to get that done. All right, the Pittsburg Tools, or Harbor Freight pound and a quarter hatchet. These things are starting to gain a little bit of traction, and a lot of people who go camping and hiking and stuff like that are really kind of digging this hatchet. And for $13, you can pick this hatchet up at any Harbor Freight. And people, as a general rule, seem to like it, but there's quite a few people out there who don't like it. So, in all honesty, I picked up a couple of these myself. I keep one in my at my hunting cabin. This one here, which I bought specifically to make this video, and this other one that I use to make a tomahawk. And like I said, if you want to see me turn this hatchet into a tomahawk, let me know, and I will certainly get that done. So let's talk about the hatchet a little bit. The Pittsburg Tools pound and a quarter hatchet. So what do I know about this hatchet? I know this hatchet's made in India. At least the head is made in India, and I have to assume the rest of the axe is as well. It's got a hickory handle. It's a pound and a quarter high carbon steel head on it. And that's really all I know. It costs about $13. And like I said, I have actually purchased one of these and I use it. And I can't say I don't like the hatchet, because I do like the hatchet. But right out of the gate, there are some things that you need to do, at least I felt I needed to do, to make this hatchet what I wanted it to be. And that was a functional piece of equipment in my camping kit. So let's talk about the things that I don't like about the hatchet. First and foremost, Harbor Freight or Pittsburgh doesn't put much of an edge on this hatchet. This thing's pretty dull. It'll cut wood, but you're going to have to put a pretty fair amount of effort into it. There's just not a lot of edge. So when you buy this hatchet, you're going to have to expect that right off the bat, you're going to have to put an edge on it. And additional to putting that better edge on it, you're going to need to put in more bevel. You can see here this shiny part. If you look on the website and the picture on the Harbor Freight website, they show far more bevel on this hatchet than what you actually get. You can see that shiny part right there is the only bevel that you've got, and you're going to need to put more bevel on it, because if you look at the profile of the hatchet, and I hope this is focusing on the camera, that is all of the cutting edge, and it's way too steep, and it's not gradual enough to be an actual functional wood cutting tool. Or if you're using this to split campfire wood or something like that, you're going to want to pull that bevel further back into the bit of the hatchet, because there's just not a lot of bevel on that. The other thing that I don't like about this hatchet is this black coating or paint that they put on it. And I know why they do this. It's economics is why they do this. It's much cheaper to throw a coat of paint on this thing than to polish it down into a nice surface so that you don't need a coat of paint on it. So they get it pretty rough, and then they hose it down with this coating, and it covers up a lot of imperfections, and it covers up a lot of flaws in the hatchet head. And how do I know that? Because when I made this tomahawk, I took that coating off, And I very quickly realized why they put that coating on there. It's because they don't do a great job of finishing the steel, and that paint actually covers up a lot of those imperfections. So I don't like the coating for that, and I don't like it because it actually is fairly rough and it provides a pretty fair degree of friction. So if you are using this in an axe capability, that's actually going to provide some friction. So if you're like splitting some small wood to process wood for a campfire, that's actually going to provide some friction, and it's not going to want to pass through the wood as easily because it's going to drag. It's going to want to drag on it. So that is another thing that I don't like about it. I really like the hickory handle, but I don't like the varnish or the coating that they put on the handle. It's basically a lacquer, if you will, or some kind of a varnish, and it's really rough. It's not smooth. And when I first got my first one of these, I used it for a little while just to kind of try it out as is, and you could feel it starting to make blisters on your hand fairly quickly. So I really don't like the varnish or the coating that they put on this hatchet. I like the girth of the handle and everything. I just don't like the coating. Things I do like about it, it is a high carbon steel head. It's not stainless steel. I know that because I've rubbed mine against my ferrocerium rod and it will make sparks. It makes a lot of sparks. So it's good in that respect. And a magnet also sticks to it. So therefore I know that it is a high carbon steel axe. The other thing I like about the hatchet is it does have a hickory handle on it. And I'm a very big fan of wood handles on my hatchets. Now Harbor Freight also sells another hatchet just like this one, but it's got a fiberglass handle on it and it's far less expensive. It's right around $8. This one's about $13, and I'm sure the reason it's a little more is because it's got a wood handle on it. I do like a wood handle on my hatchets and my axes. The girth of it, I've heard some YouTube content creators say they don't like the thickness of the handle of the hatchet. I don't mind it. Right down here in the throat of the handle, it's a little smaller, and it feels fine in my hand. Now I do have big hands, but I don't feel like it's overburdening or too much, and I don't really think that you'll have a problem with it anyway. But when we go through the upgrade portion of this video, you can actually remove some of that wood if you want to and make that handle more what you want. The steel in the heads from the one I bought earlier, the steel seems like it's pretty decent. Even though the head is made in India, or it's India-made steel, it seems like it's fairly decent. It holds an edge. It sharpens really nicely. I can tell that it's been hardened, and it does hold an edge pretty well. I've used my hatchet quite a bit this year to process kindling wood and things like that for campfires, and it really does hold an edge fairly well once you regrind that bevel, and we're going to do that today as well. I'm going to show you how I regrind that bevel, as well as taking this coating off. Other than that, that's really all there is to talk about with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a hatchet. There's no mystery behind it. There's no real science behind it. It just needs some upgrades. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and let's do some upgrades to this handle. Let me get out of my Christmas sweater, because if I ruin this Christmas sweater, my wife will have my head, and then there will be no more Jack of All Trades channel. So let's go ahead and relocate the camera, and let me show you how I make this axe a little more functional. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do to this hatchet is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that varnish. And it's really not a difficult process. You just go ahead and put the hatchet in a varnish or in a vise, but make sure that if you're doing that, you have some sort of a soft jaw in your vise so you don't put any like serious marks in your hatchet handle or anything like that. I've put wooden jaws in my vise just for doing things like this. Go ahead and snug it down really good. Now you're going to want to take this label off. Okay, so once you've got the label removed, it's a simple matter of removing the varnish. Now what I like to do is I just like to take a knife, a fairly sharp knife. It doesn't have to be super sharp, and just scrape it along the handle, and you can see it just peels that varnish right off. And just go down and go ahead and just remove all that varnish with a scraping motion with the edge of a knife. Now, if you don't have a knife handy, you can use something as a piece of steel that's got a 90-degree cut on the edge, and just scrape it off. This works just as well. Doesn't have to be crazy sharp, and you can see I'm peeling off really nice shavings there. See that shaving right there? And this is just a piece of steel I flattened out on the grinder. It's nothing special. So go ahead and remove all that varnish. Okay, I've got all the varnish removed. It would be at this point in time, if you don't like the heaviness of this handle, that you can go ahead and you can take your knife and you can just continuously keep scraping off more if you want to get rid of that excess handle. Whittle it down if you want to, whatever you want to do to make that handle to whatever you want it to be. But this would be the time to do it. Okay, now that we're where we want to be with the handle, you just need to get yourself some like 150 grit sandpaper and just go ahead and sand the handle down, because the scraping will raise the grain of the wood. And you just want to go ahead and sand this thing down back to a smooth surface. If you want to go as high as 220 or 300 grit, whatever, that is totally up to you. I honestly don't really feel a need to go much more than 150 grit. It gets a really nice smooth surface, and this is a hickory handle, and it's going to sand a little difficult, and it actually 150 grit will do just fine to get the surface that I require. If you want to go more, you certainly can. Now, because I'm a lazy bastard, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use my Work Sharp knife sharpening system with a 150 grit belt in it, and I'm going to go ahead and sand it off with this. All right, I've got the handle to the smoothness that I like it. A very important step, do not forget to take the varnish off of the end grain of the handle, because you're going to want to make sure you have that off so that it'll soak up plenty of good oil. Also, make sure that you get the varnish off of the top of the handle here in the eye, because you're going to want to soak in some oil there as well. This is a little harder to do. You're just going to simply have to use a piece of sandpaper to get it off there. Now, if you wanted to, you could take like a flap disc grinder or a grinder for metal and put a flap disc on it, and you can clean that off as well. I am going to do just exactly that, because all of that paint is going to come off of this hatchet. Now, what I've got here is I've got just your garden variety Chicago electric, but it's professional. Just so you know, it is professional grade. It says so right there. With a 150 grit, or actually it's 120 grit flap disc wheel on it, and I'm going to use that to go ahead and remove the paint from this head, as well as take the varnish off the top of the handle here. So I want you to go ahead and take a look at this now that I've started taking some paint off. You can see there's low spots in the metal, and that is why they paint these things, because there is imperfections in the metal. And as I grind off more of this paint, I see how many more imperfections are in there. And you know, quite honestly, all I do is I just keep grinding it off until it is to the quality of the surface finish that I want to see it. Now, this is going to be a functional hatchet for me. I'm not going to get crazy. I don't need it to be a high polish, but you can certainly polish it up as shiny as you want to. I just want to make it more functional. All right, I've got all the varnish off the handle. I've got all the paint off the head. It's to a finish that I'm perfectly acceptable to have for an actual usable hatchet. Now I'm going to go ahead and take it over to the grinder, and I'm going to establish a cutting edge back on it so that this thing will be ready to cut. Then we'll coat the handle with some finish, and we'll be good to go. All right, so I've got the hatchet pretty much the way I want it, other than the fact that we need to refinish the handle. Now, you don't use anything more crazy than boiled linseed oil. So as far as I'm concerned, boiled linseed oil is by far and away the best finish you can use on an axe handle or a hammer handle or anything like that. It does an excellent job of preserving the wood, provides a good surface that feels good on your hands, and it just does an excellent job of sealing everything up. Now, welcome to another episode of Don't Do It Like I Do, because you really should wear gloves, especially with modern boiled linseed oil. Back in the day, boiled linseed oil was just exactly that. It was linseed oil that they purified through a boiling process, and they did that because that would make the linseed oil actually dry faster, so you could put more coats on in a quicker amount of time. If you don't boil it, it takes forever for the linseed oil to actually dry and cure. So they figured out that boiling it would actually speed that process up. Modern linseed oil has got chemicals in it and all kinds of other crap. It's really not true, pure boiled linseed oil, but it serves the same purpose and it works very, very well. So you really should wear rubber gloves. I don't, because I don't care. But don't do like I do like I say. So I go ahead and I just dip the handle in there. Get a good coat of oil on there, and of course you can see I can only get half the handle in my bucket, which is just fine, and then I let some of it drip off. And then I go ahead and just flip it upside down, let it run down, and then I take a paper towel and coat the whole handle. Don't worry if you get a little on the hatchet head, it's not going to hurt it a bit. Make sure you pay good close attention to the end grain of the handle. And then go ahead and make sure you get a pretty fair amount of oil on the eye of the handle. In fact, if you have to, go ahead and dip your rag or your paper towel in there. Put a really good coating of that on there. And then wipe it off and then just let it sit for 25, 30 minutes, something like that. And come in and do it again. I would put no less than 3, if not 4 coats of boiled linseed oil on your hatchet handle. All right, so I've got my first coat of boiled linseed oil on here. It's fairly dry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to drill a hole in the handle. I wish they would put one in, but they don't. So just grab your drill or your drill press, and I usually end up with about a 1/2 inch hole in it when it's all said and done. And we'll go ahead and do another coat of linseed oil and hang it up to dry. And there it is. We just took the 1.25 pound Pittsburg Tools, buy it at Harbor Freight Hatchet, and turned it into something a little more functional. We got the finish on the handle and everything taken care of. We got the head shaped up. We got a good cutting edge on it. This thing's ready for service. Now, we did take the paint off of this thing, so you're going to want to take some kind of oil, and you're going to probably want to, coat the head with a little bit of oil to preserve it so it doesn't rust. It is carbon steel after all, and it will rust. So make sure you put a little oil on it, just like you would any other axe that you might have in your house or own, just to make sure it stays preserved and it doesn't get rusty on you, and then you got a rusty piece of crap when you need it. You'll have a good serviceable, usable tool. And for $13 and about 45 minutes of my time, I got a really nice little hatchet that's ready for pretty much anything you'd ever need a hatchet for. Now, like I said earlier in the video, if you want to see me take a Harbor Freight hatchet and turn it into a tomahawk just like this, let me know down in the comments and I will certainly get a video done to show you how I went ahead and I made this tomahawk. It's kind of fun. It's still very functional, but it's very fun, and you can do it any way you want, and when you're done with it, it will be a one-of-a-kind guaranteed. With that, this is Ed from Jack of All Trades. As always, thank you for stopping by. Thanks to my longtime subscribers. I really do appreciate your support. All my new subscribers, thank you for watching and subscribing to this channel, and we will see you all on the next video.